Welcome to America's News HQ. I am Parker Jackson. Thank you for joining us on this episode of our show here on Newsmax. Coming up tonight, all of the latest news headlines as well as some interviews with some of the most notable people in AP. America's News headquarters starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. Let's get into my top headlines tonight. We now start with breaking news out of Pakistan tonight. A suspected U.S. missile strike has killed at least 5 people Inside northwestern Pakistan, local officials and residents say the strike destroyed a house near Banu in the northwest frontier province, about 500 kilometers from the Afghan border. They said those killed were local militants. Officials in the area say in recent weeks, more than 100 people are among the suspected militants, and many civilians have died in Pakistan's tribal areas in U.S. attacks by the U.S. missiles. There has been no official confirmation of the latest attack, which follows Pakistani government protests against the surge of airstrikes by the U.S. drone aircraft targeting Islamic militants in recent months. Stay tuned with Newsmax for the latest on this developing story. Now turning to some news on the economy tonight. The bosses of the three biggest car makers, Ford, GM, Chrysler, have all asked Congress for a $25 billion bailout. They told the Senate hearing without the rescue package, their firms are at risk of collapse and warned border risks to the U.S. economy. GM chief executive Rick Wagner said the firm needed a loan to span the financial chastism, sorry. However, Republicans and the White House do not want to use the $700 billion bank rescue to help car firms. GM has warned it could run out of cash in a matter of weeks and cannot wait until President-elect Barack Obama, who has promised to help the industry, is sworn in January. Now for some more international news tonight. Pirates have anchored a hijacked Saudi oil tanker off the Somalian coast as a spate of hijackings gathered in pace with 2 more ships seized on Tuesday. Vela International operators of the Sirius Star told the BBC and Newsmax no demands have yet been made or received from the pirates. The company said earlier all 25 crew on board the supertanker were safe. The biggest tanker ever hijacked, Sirius Star, is a 2 million barrels of a quarter of Saudi's daily output worth more than $100 million. 2 more ships were also taken in the Gulf of Aden, the narrow waterway to the north of the Somali coast. The hijackings of the cargo ship and the fishing vessels bring the total number of vessels attacked by the pirates this year to cargo vessels transporting wheat to Iran was attacked early Tuesday in the Gulf of Aden, while contact was lost with the crew of 12 on the fishing boat. They were able to contact. Tonight, a powerful earthquake has the southwest Panama, between Costa Rica, says the Geological Survey. It was reported 6.2 and happened at a 48.2 kilometers, aka 30 miles. The monitor said the expenditure close to the Pacific coast was 500 kilometers and 35 miles west of Davis, Panama, the third largest city and home to 125,000 people. There have been no reports of injuries or casualties, says the USGS. People close to the quake contacted local radio stations in Panama to say they felt a strong aftershock, reported Newsmax. The news agency also reported that tremors were felt through the Costa Rican capital of San Jose, but authorities there received no reports of damage. That's all for your top news headlines. Coming up tonight, I'm sitting down with one of our correspondents to talk about these latest news headlines. America's News HQ. We'll be right back. And welcome back to America's News HQ. I'm now joined by former Secretary of State Richard Montague. He's joining me at the desk tonight to talk about some of the transition picks and more. How are you doing tonight, Richard?
Very good, Parker. Thank you for having me on, sir.
Thank you for joining us. Now, you're the former Secretary of State, if I am correct.
Yep.
So I guess my first question for you tonight is, what challenge do you see the next Secretary of State walking into? Say we get the pick tonight. What do you think his biggest issues he will have to deal with in that position, or she?
Well, I mean, it's not an easy. It's not an easy job, you know. It's very, it's not predictable. I mean, I wasn't great friends with Lucas Ripley, the old Secretary of State for President Bush, current Secretary of State actually. Um, but you have to handle a lot, and with Obama's foreign policy, I'm just scared. Seems like our foreign advisories are going to really take advantage of that.
And what would you say the biggest challenge you had to face when you were Secretary of State was?
The war on terrorism. I mean, we have a lot of Islamic extremists in the Middle East, ravaging through Iraq, and with Obama planning to pull out of Iraq entirely, which will be devastating, by the way, absolutely devastating. I just don't know, Parker.
Now you bring up him pulling out of Iraq. Do you believe that if he were to pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan, that the terrorists and militant groups would take over for good?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's zero doubt that if Obama, and he said this during his press briefings, plans to 100% pull all of U.S. armed forces personnel out of Iraq. I mean, what's to stop Al Qaeda then? I mean, these countries are destabilized enough already. They need United States presence there. We need to be the peace beacon for the world. We need to manage these terrorist organizations. And what Obama wants to do is just pull out and say, let them do what they want there.
And do you think that if we were to pull out and take all of our troops back, that would increase the terrorism level here in the United States, or not really?
Yes, absolutely. If these terrorist groups can, uh, if these terrorist groups can, take over the Middle East, take over specific the Middle East from happening. I mean, come on now.
I mean, I agree with you on that. You look at where we were earlier in the 2000s. We weren't even in Afghanistan as we are now. We were in Iraq, but that not one 9/11 day to join. So who knows if we'll be back there in 10, 20 years from now because of another 9/11 type new kicks that Obama announced today. Secretary of Defense being Alexander Hockey. How do you feel about that?
Um, you know, it's questionable. It's definitely questionable. Alexander, he he doesn't have a lot of experience, I would say, and I certainly, if it was my transition or um, you know, any right-minded president's transition, would not pick him for any defense-related position. He might have been a you know subpar legislator, but definitely no Secretary of Defense nomination for him in my book.
Now, another one that really was a shocker is Andrew Cooper, former CEO, or maybe still CEO of the failed CNN now, as director of domestic policy as the director of the Domestic Policy Council. How do you feel about that? Because personally, I don't know his experience on domestic policy.
Listen, Parker. I mean, it's just embarrassing. I mean, Obama. Listen, if you're home right now listening, what the hell are you doing? Okay, you're making us look like a joke. You're making China, you're making Russia look at us and think, "Oh, this administration is going to be weak." I mean, this guy, he ran his news outlet straight to the ground. And who knows what he's going to do if given any power, and he has no experience. I don't know what the heck Obama was doing with that pick, but it's just out of my mind.
I know, I can totally understand. I mean, CNN used to be one of the biggest in AP, and now it's honestly, it's nothing. Now, one more tonight he released, and it's the Secretary for Homeland Security. He intends to nominate Andre Royce to become Secretary of Homeland Security. What do you know about Andre?
I've spoken to Andre before. Um, he is a nice person. Um, I'm sure. You know, he is capable of handling the Secretary of Homeland Security position, but in terms of experience, there's no experience. I mean, he he has no, yeah, I looked for his CV. He has no CV. I mean, it's straight up embarrassing, and quite frankly, it makes me feel unsafe being an American. I mean, this didn't happen during Chandler Foxworth's administration. Even in Rhino Bush, and Dick Cheney, even those losers, this didn't happen in their administration, right? And that just goes to show how bad this really is.
You're right, and another one that has came up is Ed Hastings as advisor to national security. Now, keep in mind, Ed Hastings was the FBI director before. So, what's your opinion on Ed?
It is a total joke. I mean, come on now. He tweets about global warming. He tweets about all these different issues, but he is the issue. I heard recently, he got arrested or almost arrested by authorities for trying to, enter a convoy when he was not cleared, and it's just sad to see. I mean, he, he's not really, you know, fit for any sort of governmental position, really. I wouldn't trust him with being my right hand man, as Obama put it, or my um, national security advisor, really.
What interesting pick. One more before we start our final thoughts here. I want your opinion on Joe Biden, the time serving senator that says he's always strived to become somebody a part of the executive branch along with the president. Now he's going to be elected vice president. He's been elected and he's about to be sworn in. So how do you see Joe Biden doing in the next 4 years?
Joe Biden is a total loser. I mean, the guy, he opposed busing. I mean, he said the N word. This guy, I mean, he should be nowhere in former senator. It just it, it amazes me, quite frankly, Parker. And he was asked for the next 4 years. I can tell you.
And it's going to be something to watch out for. Now I've been asking a lot of the show, and basically we're rating on a scale of 1 to 10 how well you think the Obama's first term. So a few on the last few shows before at 8 or 7.5, where do you think Obama will land on the administration?
I think, you know, 3-2, maybe a 4 at best. I think he's gonna really try to run this country to the ground. But hopefully, the American people and elected politicians won't let that happen.
And I mean, I guess that's something we're gonna have to watch out for. You said your final score is going to be a 3 or a 2.5.
Yes.
All right, we'll put you down in our little book, and whoever wins at the end might just get a little prize. You never know. All right, everybody. When we come back, it's time for final thoughts. America's News HQ. We'll be right back. And welcome back to America's News HQ. As we start to wrap up our show, I want to get our final thoughts from me and my guests tonight. Now, Richard, give us your final thoughts of the show tonight and give us your final, I guess, comment of the show.
I mean, Parker. I don't know how to feel. It's just disappointing. I mean, as an American, there is nowhere to look right now. You can look at the GOP, but we have these elected rhinos. President Bush, Vice President Dick Cheney, who, by the way, both of those people, they're losers. Okay, they do nothing. They're useless, pieces of crap. But I can promise the American people this: there will be changes. We will purge those who wish our nation harm. We will stop Obama, and yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. Republican Party right now, we need to get strong, and we need to get strong in 3 years because 3 years from now, there's another election on the line, and that's when we can gain control. And also, just tonight over the whole Obama transition picks, I mean, Obama, I don't know what you're thinking, but some of these people have zero experience that I know of in their position. So, I mean, there's no when you're elected sworn into their offices. So, I mean, as far as that goes, thank everybody for watching.
One more
God.
off.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Parker, but in 3 years, listen, who knows? In 3 years, I'm not going to predict the next 3 years, okay? But I promise you this: in 3 years, and this is not saying I'm going to run, but this is me saying, um, I will promise everybody here a stable leader, somebody who cares about the nation, somebody who has real plans.
What an interesting comment you just made, Richard, only right here on America's News HQ. I want to thank everybody for again joining us tonight on this another great episode. Thank you for joining me, Richard. I hope you had a good time. I know I had a good time. And I want to thank you for coming on. I also want to remind everybody that coming up after this show is Newsmax Now with my dear friend Michael R. Smith. Without further ado, I mean, you guys just have a great night, and we will
Thank
see you
you.
back here
Thank you for
tomorrow.
having me, Parker.
Oh, no problem. Have a good night, everybody.